Welcome everyone. Can everyone see my screen and hear me? If you could use the chat box so we can confirm that my microphone and video is working properly. Thanks guys for chatting in. And where do we have people tuning in from? We're on the East Coast, we're in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Do we have people coming in from the West Coast or Midwest? Oh, New Jersey, that's where I'm from. I'm originally from New Jersey, but now I'm in North Carolina. All right, so we're going to get started in just a moment or two. We're going to give people the opportunity to tune in. Welcome to our webinar. This webinar is about empowering your child to improve grades and behavior. This is centered around tips for parents, but this is also helpful in the classroom as well if you are a teacher or a parent-teacher combination. My name is Gwen Campbell. I am the Director of Product and Data here at Revive Technologies. So I will be hosting the webinar today. So thanks for joining us. All right, so we're going to go over some questions that we would like to answer in this webinar. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what are some difficulties that lead to poor academic outcomes, especially with the end of the year approaching. A lot of people are interested in the final grades, report cards, progress reports, things like that. The second question is what are some strategies to help to improve academic outcomes? The third is how does behavior tie to grades? So we're going to go into some various behaviors in the classroom, also at home, that tend to lead to better academic outcomes. And then lastly, we're going to finish up with our story here at Revive Technology, how we got into this field and why we are so passionate about helping kids in class. All right, so to start off, the NAEP, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, each year posts out the scores. And basically this is nicknamed as our nation's report card. So we want to keep seeing progress throughout our students whenever they take these tests. And in 2017, they actually noted that there was zero progress. So what that means is basically the scores have been staying stagnant and they're not getting any better, which is a little bit concerning. And one of the reasons why we want to start helping kids excel in the classroom and keep getting better and better each year and making progress. So some of the common difficulties that we see a lot in class and at home as well. The first is on-task behavior. So this could be a child that is easily distracted. They'll be looking out the window, daydreaming, doodling, things like that, instead of listening to the teacher or completing their homework or studying for tests. So that's probably number one that we see that some kids are struggling with. Number two is task completion in an allotted time frame. So you as parents may be able to identify with this. Your child comes home from school, they have a lot of homework to complete, and you can spend hours and hours at the table just trying to get homework done for that night. And it unfortunately repeats week after week. And this can also trickle over in class as well. If they have a hard time completing classwork during the class period, or maybe quizzes and tests, they have to leave part of it blank because they were unable to complete it in the time frame they were given. And the third thing is managing workloads. As adults, you can identify with the fact that if you have a long to-do list, it's very overwhelming and hard to sometimes prioritize tasks. So kids undergo the same struggle in school. They have this workload that they're trying to tackle, and it can sometimes be overwhelming and lead to some poor academic outcomes. All right, so our first strategy, we have a lot of strategies to help with some of these difficulties, but we just picked our top 3 for this webinar. And strategy number 1 is reminders. So this is a written reminder of what on-task behavior is expected. So this helps with 2 things. So we have kids that aren't actually quite sure what they're supposed to be doing in a given time frame. You can imagine like during homework time, if they just have a stack of homework and they're not quite sure what they should do first or how they should approach it. And in class, it's also, you know, if they're reading a book, but maybe it's not the right book, it's like Harry Potter versus the textbook, things like that. They're not exactly sure what they're supposed to be doing. And the second thing is just reminding them that even if they do know what they're supposed to be doing, just a reminder that, hey, don't look out the window, we're paying attention to the teacher right now. So some good ways to accomplish this is a really simple method is just a post-it note on their desk, and you can do this at home as well. So you can write a simple post-it note that's just reminding them of what on-task behavior is expected in that time frame. We also have a product called ReviveConnect. It's a wearable wristband similar to a Fitbit, but it's specially engineered for focus and attention in classrooms and at home as well. So we have a custom text reminder feature that you could use so that it just vibrates on their wrist and it has that custom text reminder there to remind them. So some examples of either Post-its or using a ReviveConnect. A simple one is just look at and listen to the teacher. This can be really helpful for staying engaged during class. Something like write down your homework. If you have a child that completely forgets to write down their homework, and then when they get home, they feel a little bit overwhelmed because they're not exactly sure what they're supposed to do. And another example, this is really helpful for homework and classwork. Be very specific, like complete questions 1 through 5 of your social studies worksheet. And obviously that can be tailored to the specific assignment that they're doing. So this strategy can be used for classwork and homework. And it's really great at tackling all 3 difficulties that we talked about, increasing on-task behavior, faster task completion, and managing workloads. So strategy number 2 is a principle called chunking. And so we all know the principle of using a list, but we can break that down into smaller tasks. Sometimes it's a little bit too overwhelming if there's 10 or more things on your to-do list. So we recommend to break it down into smaller tasks, maybe 1 or 2 things at a given time frame. So for example, if they have a lot of chores to complete throughout the day, you can break it down, say, just do these 2 things before breakfast, and then maybe after lunchtime, do these 2 things, and then after dinner, do these 2 things. So it helps to break it down into smaller chunks so that it's not too overwhelming for the child. The second part of chunking is you can actually cover up physical materials. So if they have a worksheet, if they have a reading passage or part of a textbook, you can actually cover up part of the page using an index card. And that really helps to not be visually overwhelming. And it also helps the children to get a sense of accomplishment more frequently throughout their work period. So once they accomplish those 2 things, that can be celebrated. Good job, you completed these 2 tasks, like keep up the good work. Same thing with reading. If they have to read 10 pages, you might want to break it down into half-page increments so that they don't get frustrated if it takes a long time. You can actually celebrate progress along the way. And that's a really helpful thing for kids that get frustrated. And they also, whether or not your child has been officially diagnosed with ADHD or just struggles with focus and attention and task completion, they do make specific planners for kids, and they make some ADHD specific planners, and it really helps guide what to do and when to do it. It is often a better planner than the free school agendas that they give out because it's catered to helping with some of these difficulties that we've talked about. So this chunking method can be used for classwork, homework, and preparing for tests. It's a really great strategy for preparing for tests when they have a lot of material to study for, and breaking it down into smaller chunks so that way it doesn't get too overwhelming and they can actually absorb the information into their brain. And these help with the difficulties of task completion and managing workloads, especially managing workloads for children that feel frustrated or a little bit anxious if they have a long list of things that they have to accomplish. Okay, so strategy number 3 is strategic breaks. So it's really great for everyone, not just kids, to take sporadic attention breaks. We actually here in the office recommend every few hours that someone, just go take a walk around the building. And we love to institute that with kids as well, wherever possible. So it's great for everyone just once every few hours to have a break from whatever work you're doing. And it's great to pair that with a physical activity. So it's kind of 2 parts where it helps you have a mental break just to do something different, but it also, that physical activity will help release some endorphins and help the kids to get a little energy out if you have a more hyperactive child as well. And this is really the principle behind why recess is so great for kids. It gives them a physical break away from academics that they can kind of relax for 15 or 20 minutes. Specifically for homework time, there's also something called the Pomodoro method. The principle behind this is 15 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of break. So every 20 minutes, this is the structure: 15 minutes of work followed by 5 minutes of break. Same thing, we recommend that the 5 minutes of break, if possible, is paired with something active. So that could be taking a walk, shooting a basketball, things like that, whatever is possible for your specific situation. And it seems like this would actually take longer to complete homework assignments because you are taking a break so frequently. But we found, and there's research supporting it as well, that you actually do have a faster overall task completion time because you're not having as frequent of a lapse in attention. So because the kids get that break, they're not just constantly struggling to stay engaged, struggling to absorb more material. And also, as a parent, you get a break as well, so that way you guys can not worry about the assignment for those 5 minutes. It's really great for a mental exercise. And as I said, we do have a product called ReviveConnect. We have a homework mode that actually institutes this Pomodoro method. So you can actually set it on the watch, so that way you don't have to set a kitchen timer so that every 15 minutes and 5 minutes it goes off. You can use a plain old kitchen timer or use the timer on your microwave, things like that. But we built it in automatically into our device if that is of interest to you. And the uses for these strategic breaks is pretty much everything. It's really great for classwork, homework, preparing for tests. Obviously, as the parent, you don't have as much control over classwork, but if possible, if a child's really struggling throughout a class period, if they do get a break to, maybe walk something to the office, we find that that's really helpful for them as well. And this helps with increasing on-task behavior as well as a faster task completion time. All right, so test taking, something that I don't think anyone really likes these days. So a great strategy for test taking is to dissipate the study sessions. So everyone loves to wait until the night before, but it's really great if you can parse out the study efforts over a 2-week span. And if you can use that strategy we talked about called chunking, and you can break it out into smaller chunks over 2 weeks, it's a lot less frustrating, plus it's not as taxing to try to jam all that information in at once. So for study sessions, we really recommend 2 weeks out to start planning the study sessions, so that way it's not too overwhelming. Also, what's really great for test taking is just general wellness. So if your child can go to bed on time, get a really great night's sleep, a healthy diet and exercise, physical activity is great for helping with on-task behavior and study sessions. And obviously a balanced breakfast, lunch, and dinner so that they're not crashing before the test or after the test, things like that. And we're actually going to host a separate webinar on test taking because we've gotten a lot of requests from parents and teachers for some tips and tricks on how to navigate studying and test taking to get better scores. So our founder and CEO is a school psychologist named Rich Roncaccio, and he's going to host a special webinar just on test taking and some helpful strategies that he recommends. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do a poll. So our poll, we are curious, for you as our webinar attendee, which of the following is currently concerning you most as the parent? So that may be behavior, test taking, report cards, homework habits, or maybe a combination. And if you have other concerns, please chat them into us because we would really like to know what would be helpful information that we could send out to people. All right. I'm going to give it a few minutes so that you all have a chance to vote. It looks like right now behavior and homework are the top 2 struggles. And for those of you that struggle with homework, if you can chat in also, like what part of homework do you guys struggle with? Is it just getting homework done? It takes a long time. The materials are confusing. What about homework is really the struggle? And same thing with behavior. What about behavior are you struggling with? Is it the teacher feedback? Do you use some type of behavior chart? Any information that you can chat in would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it. All right, it looks like most of you have voted. So let's go ahead and share the results. So it looks like behavior is actually the #1 concern, followed by homework, and then test taking and report cards are tied. Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. That was really interesting. And we'll go ahead and we're going to try to push out more webinars and things like that that are helpful for all of you on those topics. All right. So here we talked about some of the difficulties and some of the strategies. So now we want to go over some of the outcomes that we have personally heard from our customers that have used ReviveConnect and some of the strategies that we talked about so that you all can see how this can be impactful. So this story, I absolutely love this story because it shows how powerful some of these strategies can be. So in this specific case, the user was wearing our ReviveConnect product, which is a vibration reminder wristband, and it also has some of those like custom text features. It has a homework feature, things like that. So in the first picture on the left, they use a ticket system in their school. So the child only received 1 ticket the entire trimester before they started wearing ReviveConnect. And then on the right is just the first day of wearing Revive. So they were 4 times more successful in 1 day just because this child was getting reminders to stay on task. They also had some custom text reminders, which could serve as helping them know what to do, and also just encouragement for, you know, things like writing down their homework. So this is a really impactful picture of how some of these strategies, even though they sound simple, can be really helpful for these kids that just need a few things in their toolbox to help succeed. All right, example outcome #2. So this is a pretty standard report card that I'm sure we're all familiar with. So we've highlighted the 3-quarter outcomes. So before they started wearing Revive, they started out first quarter, all A's and B's. They're, you know, a successful student in the beginning of the semester. In the second quarter, we see that the grades start to drop to B's and C's, and this isn't abnormal for kids to start off strong, and then when the workload, the homework, the quizzes, the tests, everything starts to get a little overwhelming, we'll see those grades drop. And then they started wearing ReviveConnect, and they're back all up to A's and A minuses. So again, this is just when things start to get overwhelming, when things get harder and you get further into the semester, it doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that maybe you need another tool in your toolbox to help them finish strong and succeed. All right, and lastly, we're going to go over this mini case study. So on the left is a behavior chart, and they have it broken out by quarters. So they have a fall and a winter. And on the right is a report card. So we're going to talk a little bit about how behavior, even if it's not a behavior chart, but how in general, how behaviors can help impact grades, because the two are actually very intertwined and related to each other. So let's look at behavior first. So some of the top 3 behaviors that we really try to tackle. The first one is more participation and engagement during class time. So as we can all understand, if the child spends, say, 1/3 of their time looking out the window or doodling or things like that, they're not paying attention to what the teacher is teaching. So how can we expect when it comes time for a quiz or a test that they understand all of the material? So if we can increase more participation, more engagement during class time, we're going to see better academic outcomes. The second is the ability to work independently, and this depends on the structure of the school system as well as the grade level a little bit. But say for homework time, if they are able to complete the majority of their homework independently, not only does that make your job as the parent a lot easier, but it also fosters this sense of empowerment for the child that they can do things on their own and they can accomplish these tasks. So that's helpful in homework time, studying for tests, completing tests, as well as classwork. If the child can work more independently and say they have reminders that are helping them stay on task, they're able to chunk their to-do list so that they're not too overwhelmed, if they're able to institute these strategies to work independently, you'll see better academic outcomes. And the last thing that we really like to target behavior-wise is organization of tasks and assignments. So this is a great way to help with the children not getting too overwhelmed, which can actually decrease their self-esteem. They feel like they're not good enough. They feel like they can't do it, which is not at all the case. Look, we never see kids that aren't good enough and that can't do it. They just need some more tools in their toolbox. They're perfectly capable, they're smart, they're bright. They just need help with some of these things. So organization of tasks and assignments, whether that's a reminder, whether it's a to-do list, whether it's a special planner for that specific child's needs, as soon as they can organize their tasks and assignments, you're going to see that they're more confident in their ability and they are more willing to give things a try because they think that they can do it. So some of the things that help increase grades, so increased on-task behavior like we talked about, if they're more engaged during class time, you're going to see more on-task behavior, which is going to raise their grades. Faster task completion times. We've seen some students that they get so distracted during quizzes and tests that they actually just leave parts of it blank. And it's not because they don't know the answers, they just run out of time. So if you can have faster task completion times, it helps obviously with quizzes and tests, but then homework time, you're not spending hours and hours frustrated at night trying to get homework done. And then obviously less frustration, increase in confidence, you're going to see better grades. A lot of the things that we see kids struggle with are not because of a lack of intelligence. It's really just things get frustrating, overwhelming, and we want to increase their confidence, empower them to be independent, and see them really flourish in academic settings. All right, so we're gonna finish up with our story at Revive Technologies and why we're so passionate about this. So it all started with a school psychologist who wanted to help kids. So on the right, that's a picture of Rich Brancaccio. He's our founder, and he is a school psychologist. So he was actually working with kids in the classroom, and he wasn't satisfied with current products on the market because he felt like the kids could do it, they just needed a little bit of help. So what he decided to do is take matters into his own hands, and he founded the company Revive Technologies in 2013. 2015, he launched the first vibration reminder wristband called Revive Classic. We saw great results with helping kids with these difficulties that we talked about today in the webinar. And then 2019, we launched our new product, ReviveConnect, which is still a vibration reminder wristband, but it has the features like the custom text reminders, it has a watch feature, and it adapts the vibration reminders to the specific needs of the child. So just going into a little bit about how ReviveConnect works to help overcome some of these difficulties, the on-task behavior and completion times, things like that. So step one is attention will drift. So the child may be looking out the window or talking to their neighbor, things like that. The ReviveConnect wristband will send a vibration to the wrist of the student, and they can actually report whether they were on task or off task. So they just tap on the face of the device to communicate whether or not they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. Step three is we collect data on the focus, responsiveness, steps, and fidgeting behaviors of the child. And we send that to the cloud, which is then analyzed and portrayed on an easy to read app for parents and teachers. They can then view the student's behavior and progress through the app. And we try to send encouraging messages, and we have animated icons that will fly across the screen so that kids can feel really excited when they're making progress. Because what we found with all of these strategies is as soon as the kids start to see progress and they can do things on their own, they can finish a quiz that maybe they would have had to leave part of it blank before, you start to really see them flourish and gain confidence and feel like they can do it and believe in themselves. And that's a really powerful thing. All right, so thank you all so much for donating your time this morning for us. As a special offer for all of you on the webinar, we created the coupon code 40OFF at our website, revivetech.com. If you're interested in learning more about specifically the ReviveConnect device, it's listed on our website, and you can get $40 off the ReviveConnect Plus package. which is the wristband like we talked about. It also comes with 2 replacement bands, a blue and a purple, and it comes with 13 months of our app, which has all of the data that we just talked about that shows the progress. It also allows you to program custom text reminders, like write down your homework or grab your backpack. I actually just saw today, I talked to a mom this morning who used the ReviveConnect to help her child stay on task and get better grades in class. But she also puts in there custom text reminders throughout the day that just says like, I love you, you're doing a great job, keep up the good work, we're so proud of you. And that to me is just like an amazing way to use this device. I just absolutely love that she used it that way to really help encourage her child who may get frustrated throughout the day, just to know that he is loved and doing a great job and trying really hard. So I loved that application as well. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, we're going to be continuing to answer some questions for you all, but we just want to thank you again for taking the time to sit in on this webinar, and we're going to take all of your feedback and try to produce more webinars and other special pieces from our school psychologists to try to help you all as parents as much as we can. So thank you all for listening, and we'll stick around a little bit to answer in the chat. All right, so I'm going to go through the chat a little bit just to see if there's anything that we can talk about.
Yeah, hey, it's Morgan again. Sandy,
hey, Morgan.
Yeah, Sandy just asked a good question about being able to share data from the app between teachers and co-parents. Can you speak to that?
Sure, that's actually a really great question. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, my job basically is to oversee ReviveConnect as a whole and make it better. So I am the person that loves to hear questions like this, that we can accommodate all the different use cases. So what we did, right now we have the app where you can just share your login. So parents, like a mom and a dad or whatever the case is, will share a login so that they can see all of the data. However, we're adding another feature probably over the summer, which will be like a school report type feature. So that way, if you're a parent and you wanted to share some pieces of information with the teacher, you can actually share, it'll be like a PDF or something along those lines. So you can share all of the data over time. So that way you and the teacher can actually be on the same page with all of the Revive data that's collected. So we don't have, you can share the login right now, but the actual like printout of the data we're working on right now. So it'll probably be ready over the summer for the fall school year. All right, I see a few more questions that maybe we can answer. Is it covered by insurance? That's a great question. Right now, it's not considered a medical device. We can't make any medical claims. So it's not covered by insurance. It's considered a behavior intervention tool, not a medical device. Let's see. Are the vibrations to stay on task random, or are they triggered? This is a great question. So we have a base algorithm in our device that is based on research. So we know the probability that someone is to become off task in a given span of time. So that is what the algorithm is based on, but we actually have an adaptive mode that takes all of the data it's collecting and the feedback from the child, and it adjusts to the specific needs of that user. You can also enter in their class schedule. So it will start to recognize if a student is struggling in one subject over another. So we see a lot that some students may excel in math class, but then when they get to reading class, their focus drops just because they're not as interested in that subject maybe, or they just struggle more in that subject. So the device will actually accommodate for situations like that if they're struggling at one part of the day versus another as well. So it's not random, it's partially based on research, and then it customizes to the specific needs of that person.
And Cheryl asked a good question about, is it a risk that the child will get used to the vibration reminders? And I think you might have just spoken to that a bit. But yeah, it's within the algorithm, there is like kind of like an allowance of a little bit of time before or after. Say if it's supposed to vibrate every 10 minutes, it's not exactly on the 10 minutes, the 10-minute mark so that the child doesn't get used to it and the vibrations come at like a different strength and a little bit of different frequency there for them.
Exactly. Yeah, Morgan stated correctly. So there is a little bit of variation in the vibrations, so that way the child doesn't get used to it. We also change the vibration patterns. So if you test it out as the parent, you'll notice that it'll vibrate differently each time, and that reduces the chance of them getting used to it and ignoring it. We also have 3 different vibration strength settings. So if the child's particularly sensitive, or they may just be more prone to ignoring it or not feeling it, you can also bump it up to a stronger vibration as well.
Kathy was asking about what age we recommend Revive for. Her son is almost 14. So yeah, we recommend it for ages 6 and up, really. We have adult users as well.
Yep.
Let's see. There was, I think it was Danny. Yeah, Danny was asking about some of the other features, like tracking steps, and was asking if it has GPS. No, it doesn't have GPS, Danny. We found that was like a huge battery sucker, but it's something we have considered. And in terms of tracking steps, yes, it does track steps, and the kids definitely love that, coming home and seeing their steps from each day and comparing it with their friends and all that.
Yep.
You see anything else, Gwen?
I'm just trying to coast through to see if there's anything else that we should talk about before we sign off. Okay, so Terry is talking, asking about research. So yes, on our website, ReviveCheck.com, we do have a pilot study that we did with students in a school system. So you can see that under the pilot study link, and you can actually download our whole white paper. Basically, the summary is that we saw, for all the participants, we saw about a 20% increase in time spent on task, which we were really happy with because we were shooting for like a 5 to 10% increase. And then the range for the top half of kids that really were affected by the technology, we saw anywhere from about a 30% increase to one child actually had over 135% increase in time spent on task. He was highly distractible, and so having a wristband that was sending him vibration reminders was really impactful for his success in the classroom. And the other cool thing kind of on that note is that, so that particular case, it was a student, I think when we first engaged with him, he was in the 3rd grade. So he was part of our research study, and his parents wanted to stay engaged with us as the company. So we tracked his progress over the last few years, and he was able to actually wean himself off of ReviveConnect, or sorry, the Revive wristband. And so he started where he had to be on the highest setting possible because he was very distractible. And then as he started getting used to the reminders and being able to stay more and more on task and be more independent, he was able to knock it down very slowly to the point where he only had to wear it kind of supplementally, where he just had to wear the Revive, a few times a week, and still saw the same results with the more time spent on task. So, go ahead, Morgan.
Sorry, I just didn't want to leave behind this question from Amber. She was just asking if it has been used with kids that have autism. Definitely, yes.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of users that are on the autism spectrum. The only thing about that is just we have a lot that are on the high functioning part of the spectrum. Lower functioning, it just depends on the case. So we're happy to talk more with you about whether or not it might be a good fit for your child. But in general, if they are able to feel the vibration reminder and ask themselves if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they can kind of understand that concept, then it should be worth a try. All right, I see Ashley has a great question. When would you notice a difference with your child? So, of course, the answer to this is it depends. For a lot of the kids, we will see improvement within the first week. So the first day, we recommend that you try it during homework time, just in case they have any questions or they get a little bit confused. You as the parent can help direct them, unless you have some teacher buy-in and the teacher is willing to help you in the class. But the first day is really just about getting the hang of asking themselves if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and tapping back on the device and just understanding the concepts. And then once they understand the concept, we see some differences almost immediately. Like that one example we talked about with the tickets, that child actually saw a huge improvement just in the first day. But generally a week to 30 days, depending on if the child has any sensitivities or cognitive difficulties. It could be anywhere from the first day to about 30 days, just depending on the child. And we do offer, I should have mentioned this earlier, so I apologize. We do offer a full 90-day return policy. So we encourage parents to give it a try for the full 90 days. So that way you can have a very clear picture of whether or not it's helping. And we'll give you a full 100% money back guarantee.
Debbie was asking about the wristband sizes. Yeah, we have small and regular. We do recommend just measuring the wrist, but for example, like I'm an adult user and I wear small, so they're very adjustable. There's a lot of holes, so it kind of grows with them. And I just prefer not having a lot of like extra material at the end, so there's only, like 1 or 2 holes left for me. But what would you say, Gwen? Is there like an age you recommend that they switch over to the regular? Or?
Yeah, so of course we recommend if you can measure, we have the measurements on the website. So that's probably the safest bet. But for an 11-year-old, if they're just kind of like on the smaller side, the small wristband, actually, I'm the same way. It fits me as well as an adult. So the small is probably a safe bet for the ReviveConnect. It's pretty adjustable, so the small would probably fit. And Morgan, Kathy was asking how long this discount code for our special webinar offer will be good for. So do you want to speak to that?
Yes, good question. Thanks for reminding me to tell you guys. So yeah, it's good for 48 hours. That's a good thing to know. And yeah, let's see.
Yep, and we will be sending a follow-up email that will have a recording of the webinar. So if I went over something a little bit too fast, you'll be able to see it again. And it will also have a link to the webinar offer where you can plug in your $4 off coupon code.
Gwen, have you seen people use HSA or Flex accounts? I'm not sure I don't have a pulse on that right now.
Yeah, so we have had some people be able to use like an FSA card. It's like I said, it's not technically a medical device, so we often, just to be safe, recommend reaching out to your provider to make sure. But yeah, it should tell you when you go to check out whether or not it'll be actually accepted, I believe. But we always just recommend reaching out to your provider to ask, because it's a behavior intervention tool. It's not technically a medical device. Oh, okay. We've got some great questions. So if you order the regular and it turns out to be too big, just reach out to us. Our email is support@revivetech.com. We have an awesome customer support team. They'll exchange it for you, no charge to you, and we'll take care of you if you want to change out the size or the color or anything like that. Yep, the offer is for the next 48 hours. We'll be sending you an email just in case you forget what the coupon code is or things like that. I also see a question about Sezzle. So we partnered with this company called Sezzle that breaks down our pricing into 4 payments. So you can use Sezzle if you want to do a payment plan instead of paying for all of it up front. So that's an option at checkout as well. You can just select Sezzle, and Sezzle will ask for some of your information. That doesn't go to us, it goes through them. And then it'll break down your purchase into 4 payments. And the name of the band is the ReviveConnect. So we have the Revive Classic, but the ReviveConnect basically has all the same features as the Classic, but it has a lot more technology. It has the app, the reminders, the scheduling feature. So we recommend the ReviveConnect.
I just sent a link to it actually within the chat for everyone to our website.
Perfect. And Terry wants to discuss costs. So I guess, Terry, what's your specific question about costs? We're a very transparent company, so we're happy to kind of answer any question that you have. I think we're the $29.95 full price, right. And you guys are getting $40 off. And you'll see the full pricing when you click on the collection that Morgan sent. And just apply your $40 off coupon.
All lowercase, just 40 off.
Perfect. All right, these were some great questions. We really appreciate the discussion, you guys joining us. Oh yes, Terry, so the $169.95 bundle includes 13 months of our app, which has all of the advanced features that we're talking about, the custom text reminders, the scheduling, the adaptive vibration mode that actually customized to the specific need of the child.
Focus tracking.
Yep, all the data collection, the sharing of data once we roll out that feature. The cost of the app once the 13 months is up, we have two options. So you can be billed monthly or annually, and we give a discount if you just want to buy it annually. So that's about $6.95 a month. But we are also trying to roll out, we have a lot of people that are sensitive to price, so we try to accommodate them as best as possible. So we'll probably roll out some opportunities for, free months of the Plus plan and things through referrals or things like that to try to work with you guys to keep the cost lower.
And then another good question Rachel was asking about encouragement, like through the actual device. So if you see on the screen, it might be a little small for you guys right now, but there are actually little rocket ships going across the screen in all the areas that that person improved in for the day. So yeah, once you open up the app at the end of the day and look at everything, you're able to kind of like celebrate and increase like confidence there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're constantly updating our features and rolling out new ones and trying to really provide the best product possible for all of our customers. So you'll notice in some of our reviews that some of our customers say that it's like an ever-evolving app because we're constantly pushing out new things. So we want to push out new encouraging things as well for the children, because we've seen huge progress when they can get excited about, their focus increasing and things like that.
Jennifer was asking if the app can be on tablets as well. Yes, you can access it on your tablet, and we actually have a web view too, so you can view it from your computer screen. We're working to make it so that you can interact with it there as well, but now it's just like if you want to see everything, super big in front of your face there, it's available. And then Terry was also asking about tracking more than one child on the app. Yes, you can. So for example, like teachers will use the app and toggle between students to see different students' data. And each Revive uses a Plus plan account. So
yeah, so Terry, we have, I think, is the BOGO still live, Morgan?
Yes.
So if you have multiple children that you'd like to use this on, or like a classroom, reach out to us, because we do have some special deals for more than one unit being purchased at a time. And schools also, we work with schools. So the payments follow each device. So if you say you have two children and you just want to buy one ReviveConnect and try it out with both your kids to see how each responds to it, you would just pay once because you're just buying one device. And you can make multiple users, so you can just toggle your device between multiple users. Obviously, they can only wear one at a time, but there's no additional charge for creating more users if you just want to share that one device. But say you wanted, it worked out well and you wanted to buy a second one for your second child, then you would be paying for a second device and the Plus plan. So it just follows, the billing just follows the number of devices that you have. Yeah, no problem. A teacher login. So Jennifer, we right now you can share your login, but if you're not comfortable sharing that with the teacher, we're coming up with a few new features. One will just be like a view only login. So if you don't want the teacher to be able to change anything, you just want them to be able to see the numbers. We're working on that. We also are working on like a school report, so that way it'll actually process all of the data and put it into a really nice report that you can send to your counselor, psychologist, teacher, clinician, things like that. And we had a few questions about just like generally how it works. So let me try to explain that. So someone asked if it's basically like a Fitbit with some encouragement. It's actually specifically geared to increase time spent on task in the classroom. So how it works is it actually sends vibration reminders to the wrist of the user. And when they feel it vibrate, they ask themselves, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? If the answer is no, then they tap back on the device once, and they use that as a reminder to get back on task. If the answer is yes, they tap twice on the Revive, and we use that as encouragement, like good job, keep up the good work, you're doing great. So, you know, if it vibrates and the child is looking out the window, then they use that as a tool to redirect and pay attention to the teacher. And we also have, like we were talking about, the custom text reminders to help them, you know, with some special on-task behaviors, or just if they have errands or chores or things like writing down their homework before the end of the day. And we also have a schedule feature, so it will adjust based on their unique schedule. And then it tracks things like steps in their behaviors and movements, things like that. So it has a lot more features than a regular Fitbit, and it's also geared specifically to help them increase the time spent on task. And it has a homework mode for those of you parents that struggle with homework time with your children, where it takes a long time and it gets really frustrating. We have a specific homework time. Have we had parents say that this is a distraction? So this is a really great question. The vast majority of our customers find it helpful. And there's a few different use cases where they find it helpful, but primarily it's just for helping to redirect and keep them focused in class. We have a small handful of returns where the kids just don't like it for whatever reason. Some of them don't want to wear something on their wrist. Some of them don't want to wear anything at all. So we have had just a handful of returns where the kids don't like it or find it distracting. If you're concerned at all about the teacher aspect of this, like if you are concerned that the teacher maybe won't support your child wearing ReviveConnect, we do also provide some resources, like some flyers and brochures and teacher bulletins, things like that, to explain what it is and why it's helpful. And a lot of teachers obviously like things like this because it's helping to keep the kids more engaged, and that's less time that the teacher has to spend you know, tapping them on the shoulder and personally reminding them to get back to work. We also see some really great behavior benefits of the children just becoming more empowered and independent in class and succeeding. So after you purchase a ReviveConnect, we'll start emailing you some of those resources. We also have a link on our website, revivetech.com. That's, I believe it's called Helpful Resources. So we've got videos that explain how it works that your children can actually watch. And we've got some pamphlets specifically if you want to send it in with your child to the teacher. You can also email it to the teacher. And we've got some great literature as well if you meet someone else that may be interested that gives some more information about ReviveConnect. So on our website, we have some great helpful resources. And if you have any suggestions, like if there's something that you don't see on our helpful resources page, please let us know, because we are constantly trying to push out things that'll be more helpful to our parents. Even if you're not a customer, we just try to be helpful with our resources. Yeah, Ashley, if you want to, we can send you some of our educator literature, and we can try to engage with your school. We work with a lot of schools around the country, so we are happy to engage your school as well if you have some good suggestions. All right, I think our time is winding down. So any last minute questions that we didn't cover? And of course, please feel free to reach out to us. We have an awesome support team. Support@revivetech.com is our email. Please feel free to reach out to us. We also have a chat on our website, and we will be here until, I believe, 8 p.m. tonight answering questions. So please feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, Terry, as well, if you want school resources, just shoot us an email. We're happy to attach them directly, and feel free to look on our website for more information on our research and helpful resources. Oh, Kathy, thank you. We're excited you're excited. If you need anything, please let us know. Like I said, we're just really passionate about trying to help kids and teachers and parents. So anything that we can do to help, even if it's not related to ReviveConnect, please let us know. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This was a great discussion. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing from you if you have any further questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Have a great rest of your day.